The plays of the week is here. It's now. Rapid fire plays of the week. We'll start with quarterback, Jacoby Brissett. He did it last week. He did it the week before. He just does it every week. 333 air yards per game the last 5 games since he became the starter. 333 air yards per game. Man, what were the Patriots thinking, letting him slip through their fingers? They had to settle for Drake May, huh? Crazy. We're going right back to Jameis Winston. This is Detroit. This is garbage time. This is turf. This is everything you want from Jameis Winston. This is how you drew it up. He just didn't deliver last week. It was a difficult game. It was a slog. No big deal. We go right back. We don't suffer from fantasy PTSD. We love Jameis Winston this week. Dynasty stash, Malik Willis. Malik Willis is going to be a free agent, and Malik Willis is showing enough that he has suitors. I mean, plenty of NFL teams are in desperate need of a quarterback, a backup quarterback competition. So we will see where Malik Willis lands in free agency, but he might actually command a contract that would surprise a lot of people. And that is good. If you have a quarterback in Superflex Dynasty and that quarterback signs a surprisingly big deal to maybe not necessarily be the projected starter, but clearly the team likes him, then that is noteworthy. And Malik Willis has rushing ability, has fantasy upside, and for that reason, Malik Willis is the type of player to make sure that you just check your waiver wire, check your free agent pool in Superflex, make sure that, just in case. I know he's got a few snaps in him this year, so people are aware, but make sure you have him if you can get him. Running back. Travion Henderson had graduated, but now there's more. Ramondre Stevenson, he's back. We're worried again about Travion Henderson. No, I'm putting Travion Henderson back in the plays of the week where he was there every week, and then he broke out all over the place, and there was no doubt about him for a week, and now there's doubt again, so now we have to put him back. We put him back, and then hopefully we can take him off again next week, and then we don't need to talk about him again. Another player that has graduated, we just want to give him a little bit of props for graduating from the plays of the week, is Juwan Jennings. I don't think we need to talk about Juwan Jennings anymore. That was just another one of those types of players where we had to just keep mentioning them every week. This is a good play. Sean Tucker. Right, again, we talked about Sean Tucker last week, and I think, what did we say last week? Last week, we talked about how the Sean Tucker stats and the player page is always just up. We're always just showing the Sean Tucker page. It's just every week we show this just to remind everybody why we're playing him. We're playing him again this week. So it's just, unless they have a bye. Like, the only time you wouldn't play Sean Tucker is if there's a bye week. Like, is there a bye this week? I mean, last time I checked, there's. I don't think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a bye. I believe they're playing the Rams on Sunday Night Football. So what am I missing? Right? What am I missing? I mean, I know that the Rams, they don't give up a lot of fantasy points to opposing running backs. Okay. But it's Sean Tucker. Like, let's do this. He is explosive. I know it's a road game. I get it. They're underdogs. He broke out he is established. Just go with it. Just go with it. Ride Sean Tucker. Don't worry about the matchup. Just know that they unwrap the package. They realize there's a great gift given to them in Tampa in Sean Tucker, and they are going to ride him. Enjoy the big plays. He's got so much explosiveness that he can deliver even if a team doesn't necessarily give up a lot of fantasy points to opposing running backs. I know the Rams are where running back fantasy points go to die. I know that. But this is called conviction. Putting him right back in the plays of the week in a tough matchup. Don't care. Don't care. Emmanuel Wilson has a great matchup, and everybody's playing him, but it's like these are sleepers, and I know that most people that are sharp have picked up Emmanuel Wilson and intend to start him, and I that is correct. I just want to make sure that I am saying yes. I don't have too many concerns about Emmanuel Wilson. He is a lower ceiling play than I would like. If you look at his profile on Player Profiler, we're talking about a 4.6 240. This is not a big pass catcher. This is a guy that's going to get what's blocked. He is going to grind out yards between the tackles. But this is also a team in Minnesota that has a top 5 in fantasy points allowed to runners, not necessarily to running backs, but to runners. Yards and touchdown runs, Minnesota is number 8 in the NFL in terms of fantasy points allowed on runs and rushing touchdowns. So for that reason, again, I'm feeling very confident in Emmanuel Wilson. I think he's a guy you can play in DFS. He has enough touchdown upside to play him in DFS. Certainly start him in most fantasy leagues, most reasonable fantasy leagues, because why? We're talking about players that are at home in smash spots. That's the theme. We have a lot of teams this week that are favored at home by big numbers. Okay, we have the Packers are 6.5 point favorites at home. The Ravens are 14 point favorites at home against the Jets. And then we have a couple teams that are huge favorites on the road, like we have Seattle, 13 point favorites on the road. We also have the Rams. We talked about that earlier. You don't typically want the road running back, the road dog running back, not a good play. I know that. But that's why Sean Tucker's an exception. Most of these other plays, though, are more like Emmanuel Wilson, where chalky, home favorite, let's go. Speaking of home favorites, the Lions, 12.5 point favorites against the Giants. Who do you play? David Montgomery. This is a David Montgomery week. Don't forget David Montgomery in these contests like the Frenzy. He still goes very late in the Flex 6 Frenzy in these drafts that are happening right now on Fast Drafts. Go to Fast Draft. The code is FAST, and you can get a $50 deposit match and play in the Flex 6 Frenzy. There, you can max enter up to 20 teams. The total prize pool is $3,000. You're just drafting 6 guys against 7 other competitors for week 12. It is super fast, super fun, and the live scoring experience is amazing. The portfolio experience where you can see all your exposure, that is something that people are loving. So on the Discord, we have a Fast Draft Discord, and that's in the description of the show. There's a lot of positive buzz just about the overall user experience of Fast Draft, and so it's a very exciting time for us. And I would say David Montgomery is going later than I expected given the game situation. Given this is like Detroit at home against a beleaguered Giants team, this would be the week to play a David Montgomery. I'm also a Kenneth Gainwell believer. I think that it's reasonable to play a Kenneth Gainwell in the Frenzy. I know that it sounds crazy, but it also sounded crazy last week to play Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker's not the starter. It's actually Rachaad White. This is a similar situation where Kenneth Gainwell keeps being more efficient, especially in the passing game. Sean Tucker wasn't even offering more than Rachaad White in the passing game. Kenneth Gainwell is arguably better in compared to Jaylen Warren than even Sean Tucker is when compared to Rachaad White. The differential between Gainwell and Warren is actually wider than the differential is between Sean Tucker and Rachaad White, because Rachaad White is a very capable pass catcher, a better pass catcher than Warren, a better pass catcher than Tucker. But Kenneth Gainwell is just better in all phases than Jaylen Warren, and Jaylen Warren's also not better between the tackles than Caleb Johnson. So I think as a sleeper this week, you can play Kenneth Gainwell in the hope that the team comes to Jesus like the Buccaneers did with Sean Tucker last week. Again, Kenneth Gainwell is a fringe play. I know that. We're now, once we talk about David Montgomery, we're into desperation, deep league, guys you're starting as contrarian options, guys you might be desperate with a lot of buys to find someone to plug in. Kenneth Gainwell sitting there. Oh, Warren's has no injury designation, can't play Gainwell. I say no. I say Gainwell is playable. And so is Brian Robinson. Right? So I know that Gainwell, it's a road game for Gainwell, but that's a pick'em game. Okay. 49ers are at home, 7-point favorites against the Panthers. And so when you're looking for super fringe options at running back in a week where there's a lot of big home favorites, find those big home favorites that have the best matchups and be like, hey, yeah, I know McCaffrey is going to smash this week, but also Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson keeps getting, every week it seems like he gets more carries than expected. McCaffrey still gets there, and it's great. McCaffrey's upside is incredible. Everyone's drafting McCaffrey. They'll playing McCaffrey, putting McCaffrey on top. Love it, love it, love it. But it's a 50-point total, and it's very conceivable that the 49ers have a double-digit lead in the second half because the 49ers keep getting healthier. A lot of their key players are getting back and playing well. George Kittle last week. I mean, come on. So it's super conceivable that 49ers early third quarter, they're up 13 points, and that allows the 49ers to feel comfortable mixing Brian Robinson in for the rest of the second half in a 50-50 split with Christian McCaffrey. I mean, would anyone be surprised if that happens? Where Brian Robinson starts to give you that Tyler Algier weekly upside, very much in Brian Robinson's range of outcomes. And I do not want to forget about Brian Robinson this week as a fringe option. Same with Zach Charbonnet. We're talking about a 13-point favorite. I know it's not the same in that it is a road game. And that's why I have Charbonnet below Robinson, right? It's only because Seahawks are on the road, and I also think that Cam Ward, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, Cam Ward's playing better. I mean, look at the last few games, and you see, Cam Ward, he's not done. It's not over. Maybe he's the number one overall pick, and it takes him 10 weeks to get acclimated, but eventually he figures it out. Eventually he gets there, and he starts to become usable in fantasy. I didn't list him this week as a streamer. I'm not ready to go there yet, especially in this matchup against Seattle. No, thank you. But I think if there was a team I would bet on covering the spread, Tennessee wins in a very rare case. They lose by 10 points more often than not. I just think that spread is a little wide for me. And for that reason, I prefer Brian Robinson slightly, but Charbonnet is very similar. Charbonnet is actually more athletic. Charbonnet has like 70th percentile athleticism. He's a good player. He's got an all-purpose skill set. I mean, Tennessee gives up more points to opposing running backs than any other team. If you're going to play Charbonnet any week, this would be the week. There's no other week to play him than this week. This is the week for Charbonnet. You got to play him. If you have him, I know it's like a handcuff with Kenneth Walker. So if you have great options, okay, don't play him. But if he's in consideration and you're back and forth, the upside, if the Seahawks end up crushing the Titans, you're going to wish you had Charbonnet in there for sure. Michael Carter. I know. But it's true. Michael Carter's an option this week. He is. He's a pass catcher. DeMar Carter's I hate it. Like I know. But this is just the way it goes with Arizona. There's no receivers left. Greg Dortch is an option. Right? There's almost no running backs left. It's Bam Knight and Michael Carter. And this is a game where Michael Carter is going to get in there. right? So if it's a satellite back, right, it's nice if they're going to be going into some garbage time. We don't know. It's a pick'em game. Technically, the Cardinals are like 2.5-point dogs. I think it should be a pick'em. Anything can happen, though. If there's 2-minute drill, if there's hurry-up offense at all in this game, it's going to be Michael Carter out there. And anytime you have 2-minute drill, anytime you have hurry-up offense, a lot more fantasy points get scored. The witching hour in the Red Zone channel. You're going to see more Michael Carter in those particular game scenarios. That's what we're going to see. I don't love it. That's why it's my last option. I mean, I try to come up with a lot of fringe sleeper options. Guys that it's like, this is a 16-team league. I have bye weeks. I have injuries. Help me. I am desperate. There's no one on the waiver wire left. Michael Carter actually could score 10 fantasy points very reasonably. You look up, Michael Carter, say, has 12 fantasy points, right? He had 4 catches for 40 yards and maybe a touchdown. Maybe he had some rushing. Maybe he had like a 36-yard run. That's very reasonable. Very reasonable outcome for Michael Carter, given that there's been so many injuries. No James Conner, no Trey Benson, no DeMarcado. These are the scenarios we're looking at where, this game total is like 47.5. So yeah, these are technically bad teams, but this isn't Browns Raiders where it's a 36.5-point total. Notice I don't talk about Browns and Raiders on this show. I will talk about a Brown later. No Raiders. No Raiders. Why? I mean, I love Trey Tucker, but who's trying to chase 2-8 teams with a 36.5-point total? That's just not how you win in fantasy football. You win by dabbling on the Cardinals, man, and finding some fringe guys on the Cardinals and the Jaguars to play. That's how you do it. At wide receiver, again, we're going to lead off always with a guy that is obvious to most of us, but we just want to make sure that we're on the record. I mean, this is the week to play Devontae Smith. This is the week to play him in DFS, to play him in, draft him in formats like any quick draft format, any quick draft DFS format like the Frenzy. I mean, Devontae Smith against Dallas is just the best possible thing. And he's crushing A.J. Brown, outproducing him this year. So it doesn't have to be hard. Who's the best receiver this year on the Eagles? Are they playing the Cowboys? That's it. And I know because of A.J. Brown, the ownership on Devontae Smith gets suppressed. Fuck A.J. Brown. We're going Devontae Smith. I might hear about this later. I might. But that's what we're doing. Michael Wilson running it right back with Michael Wilson. The Millie Maker last week featured Brissett, Wilson, Dortch, McBride, a triple stack of Cardinals, which is what you needed to do to play both Bijan and McCaffrey. So bravo to whoever put that lineup in, had the balls to go triple stack with Cardinals. But as we talked about, if you look at the air yards every year, and you look at the air yards the last 5 weeks for Jacoby Brissett, this guy deserves to be starting quarterback in the league. Is he a top 10 quarterback? No. But he is the ultimate bridge quarterback. I mean, what a gift that the Cardinals got this year, having Jacoby Brissett as a fallback option to Kyler Murray, which allows us to go right back to Michael Wilson in a big way. Darnell Mooney is the clear choice. I mean, Kirk Cousins is dusty, but it could be worse, right? But this is the ideal spot. I mean, isn't this when you would play Darnell Mooney? Hey, Darnell Mooney, there's no Drake London, and you're playing at the Saints in the Superdome. I wonder if we should play Darnell Mooney with his 4.38 speed. Yes, we should. We should sometimes, I agree, I can hear the criticism already. We should just change the name of the show to the obvious plays of the week. Sometimes it's just very clear, and a lot of people have already figured this out. And what am I going to do? right? We do this show on Friday. And for some of these players, the cat is out of the bag. But maybe there's people out there. I know there are, who are like listening to this show. And it's the first time. They're like, yeah, I guess, I'm not super sold on Darnell Mooney because he hasn't produced a lot this year. But yeah, the situation is pretty unbelievable. The downside is it's only a 40-point total. So we do need, and I think we will get, the Saints creating some offense to help push Darnell Mooney forward. So I like the over in that game as well. Then the player we talk about every week, Wan'Dale Robinson, 30% target share. Trust the process. Just go right back to him. It's Detroit. They're on the road. There's going to be lots of garbage time. This is what we do. We find the big favorites, ideally at home, and play the backup running back or the timeshare running back or the breather back or whatever it is. That's the logic behind a Brian Robinson, a Zach Charbonnet. And then at the wide receiver position, we go with these road dogs and hope that they sustain drives and get the offense going. It's a dangerous game that we're playing here. I want to be clear. It's a dangerous game. The Giants could just get snuffed out, but with Jameis Winston, we are trusting the process one more week. Let Jameis Winston go to Detroit and prove that he can't put up fantasy points anymore. Same with Wan'Dale Robinson. I want them to go to Detroit and prove it. And then if they don't, I promise, okay? If Wan'Dale doesn't deliver this week, if Jameis doesn't deliver this week, I'm not talking about them next week. I promise. There's no way I'm doing it. I promise. I swear to God. I swear. Jacoby Myers, we're going right back to Jacoby Myers. He's a better possession receiver than Parker Washington. He is now fully acclimated. This is what we talked about last week. This is a rinse-repeat situation. Every week we have a couple rinse-repeaters. Jacoby Myers is a rinse-repeater. Andre Iosivas. I can hear it already, right? I know it's obvious, but there is no Jamar Chase. Iosivas was at the Senior Bowl with Michael Wilson. They both had similar outcomes. I thought Michael Wilson was a little bit better at the Senior Bowl. Iosivas has played well and shown flashes. He looks like this week's Greg Dortch in a good way. That's how I'm evaluating Iosivas. It's a close to a 50-point game total. They're going to have to throw, and hopefully they're going to be down. It's going to be one of those situations where, again, they're playing the Patriots. They're dogs. The Bengals are 7-point dogs. So this is what we're doing. It's a little bit better, though. What you ideally want is a home dog, a big home dog. That's the best situation. That's also why I kind of like Cam Ward to make things happen for Alec Eominor. So this week, Alec Eominor is an option, as well as Iosivas. And that's the thesis. The thesis is this is garbage time, and the defenses will loosen up in the second half, particularly for these home teams like the Titans and the Bengals. There is a player I do like more than Eominor. I do like this week Adonai Mitchell. Addy Mitchell this week. The theory here is he's a super explosive downfield playmaker. Baltimore is top 5 in fantasy points allowed to opposing wide receivers. And they traded for him. They want to see what they have. He's been the focal point, and he's dropped some passes. But I think that he will continue to be the focal point. And so I think he is a fringe option, but against Baltimore, 13-point dogs. They're going to launch some footballs up, and we're going to see what happens. And that sometimes is good enough when you're just trying to make a lineup and you need a guy that's super cheap in DFS, or you're looking for fringe options in these super deep leagues. Adonai Mitchell isn't crazy. He has boom upside, and you can see the athleticism is incredible. I think the Jets, I think there's something wrong with Adonai Mitchell, clearly, for the Colts to give up on him like they did. But also, maybe they felt they had a glut at receiver. And if that's the case, if that's the reason they moved him primarily, then the Jets got a bargain on the 20th overall pick in the 2024 draft, Adonai Mitchell. Then there's Marquise Brown. This is the third receiver, the number 3 in Kansas City. We know that Xavier Worthy's banged up. He's playing through an ankle injury, limited in practice, and they're at home against the Colts, who get exposed to perimeter receivers and speed receivers, deep threat receivers, shred the Colts. That is Marquise Brown. Now more than Worthy, because Worthy is injured and he's not himself. In the last couple weeks, the snap share, the route participation has ticked up for Marquise Brown. This would be a week to throw a dart on Marquise Brown and hoping for a long touchdown. I feel like there's no better situation to play Marquise Brown, given that they now have their full complement of wide receivers available to them. But Worthy is not 100%. At tight end, Harold Fannin Jr. This is where the targets are going to go. David Njoku has a knee injury. He's unlikely to play. Even if he does, he's not going to be 100%. He hasn't been 100% all year. Fannin, 10 targets. You could totally see it. The Browns are projected to be competitive in this game. When you have a low total game, it's typically the tight end, where all the tight end needs to do is get a touchdown and you're happy. So in that situation, I'll play a tight end in a low total game before I'll play a running back or a wide receiver. Luke Musgrave, we're going back to Luke Musgrave. This is just me giving the middle finger to fantasy PTSD. I'm not going to let last week's dud week affect me. I believe Luke Musgrave is 90% of Tucker Kraft. And that, it's just the weekly variance has suppressed him so far, but he's just waiting for an opportunity. Right place, right time. That is this week. Right place, right time for Luke Musgrave is this week. And Brenton Strange. This is pure target conservation. I want Brenton Strange to play. I hope he does. The latest news was it was unclear whether he'd be able to come back from his quad injury this week. If he does, I like playing he and Myers. I think that's a fun little combo. Brenton Strange was the leading receiver for the Jaguars multiple weeks before he was injured. So that's one that I'm following very closely. Brenton Strange, hopefully is an option this week, but I am very much closing my eyes and will be celebrating if we get a breakout from a man, Luke Musgrave.